Republicans immediately started attacking President Biden for high gas prices after he announced a ban on Russian energy imports, while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky bravely defied an increasingly isolated and desperate Vladimir Putin. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Authoritarian regimes depend on stifling the flow of information and creating alternate realities, and that can even apply to the autocrats themselves. In fact, dictators often occupy their own alternate realities, which seems to be what's happening with Vladimir Putin. He's the only person in the world who seems to think this is a good idea, this horrific war, and he's increasingly isolated from outside voices, both figuratively and literally. He makes even his highest-ranking officials sit at the other end of a giant room in televised meetings, and even when they sit at the same table, he chooses the longest table he can possibly find. I mean, what's that about? It looks like he's playing shuffleboard in a college bar. Next, he's gonna make them meet in the pods from Love is Blind. Vlad, why are you upset? Both Jessica and Lisa said you are their number one. Yes. But I cannot tell if they said that because they like me or because they are required to say it by law. The point is, Putin is clearly isolated, even from his top officials. In fact, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is defying Putin by doing the exact opposite. He posted a video of himself in his office revealing his location earlier this week, despite the fact that Putin is after him.
Just moments ago, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky posted this video on Facebook. It's the first time he's been seen in his official office since Russia invaded his country. Zelensky saying at the top of the video, quote, "I'm staying in Kyiv in my office. I'm not hiding. And I'm not afraid of anyone," unquote.
Damn, that is incredibly brave. I don't even let our cue card guy Wally know where I am until the show starts. He's always trying to get me to invest in his new line of Walmart greeting cards.
Seth, we have cards for every occasion. Birthdays, holidays.
No one wants to invest in this idea.
Why?
The cards are too big.
We provide the envelope.
We will have this conversation later.
Sounds like someone just went from a no to a maybe.
Wally! Anyway, Putin very clearly is living in a bubble, and he wants everyone else to join him in that bubble. His regime has been cracking down on independent media, rounding up protesters by the thousands, and passed a law making it illegal to call Russia's invasion of Ukraine a war.
Tonight, inside Russia, the president signing a new law passed by parliament making it illegal to distribute so-called false information about the military operation. Calling the operation in Ukraine an invasion or a war could be illegal. Breaking the law could result in up to 15 years in prison.
That's right. They're not even allowed to call it a war or invasion anymore. In fact, the list of Kremlin-approved phrases includes special military operation, destination wedding, Vlad's happy fun time, and, of course, yada, yada, yada. So Putin is isolated, unhinged, and disconnected from reality if he thinks this is going to end well. The Russian economy is being squeezed by intense international sanctions, and the global condemnation has been swift and all-encompassing. Russia's essentially been cut off from the global financial system. Russian oligarchs are having their yachts and villas seized. Major American companies are suspending their business in Russia. And on top of all that, President Biden announced yesterday that the U.S. would ban all Russian energy imports, which might make this a good time to pause and acknowledge how insane it is that we continue to buy oil from brutal regimes like Russia and Saudi Arabia, as Democratic Senator Chris Murphy pointed out yesterday.
Let's just admit the insanity of a U.S. economy that continues to run on oil that is provided to us by dictators. The reality is, if we're not getting this oil from Russia, we're likely going to be importing more from another brutal dictator in Saudi Arabia, for instance, or we may have to go to Venezuela for oil. We should ultimately learn our lesson here and become energy independent and choose to invest in clean domestic energy so we never have to choose between one dictator versus another.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we could generate our own clean energy through renewable sources like wind and solar instead of begging murderous crazy people not to gouge us? Then at least we'd never have to watch another U.S. president hold a weird glowing orb and do a sword dance with Saudi royals like he's auditioning for a non-flipping role in Cirque du Soleil. I will give them credit for one thing. They found a way to make Trump look even dumber than he normally looks. Just bobbing his head, wagging around a limp sword like a wet pool noodle. They should have just keep giving him increasingly stupid tasks and telling him he had to do it to please the Saudi royal family. All right, Mr. President, and now we shall commence the dance of the butterfly. All right, but why am I the only one in wings, guys? Living in a world where we derive our energy from clean, renewable sources would be so much better for so many obvious reasons, including the fact that it would take power away from oppressive oil-based dictatorships. Right now, they have far too much power over both global and domestic politics because, as you've probably noticed, gas prices hit a record high this week. The numbers are so shocking, I drove by a station that had viewer discretion advised on the sign. Both Republicans and Democrats had called on Biden to ban Russian energy, both parties. And yet, you probably won't be shocked to learn that Republicans also attacked him for high gas prices, like Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, who tweeted under President Trump, gas was about $2.17 in 2020. That's true. And famously, that was the only thing happening in 2020. The low gas year, as we called it. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe low gas prices had something to do with the fact that we're all trapped in our homes and no one was going anywhere. Price goes down when demand goes down. That's why you can get a DVD player for like $11 now, or a Walmart card for free. Not now! It's easy to lower gas prices when no one is using gas to commute or travel or fly on airplanes. That's like presiding over a zombie apocalypse and bragging that rents are lower than ever. But yeah, now that you do mention it, I do remember when I was fleeing the city to avoid a highly contagious respiratory virus that decimated the U.S. economy and trapped everyone in their homes without toilet paper, not knowing if their jobs would ever come back or their families would survive, looking up at the gas prices and thinking, wow, $2.17 a gallon. Thank you, President Trump. Just to clear a few things up, Biden has actually outpaced Trump in issuing drilling permits despite promising to end new drilling on federal land. Also, it's worth noting that oil companies' profits soared to $174 billion in 2021. Chevron alone raked in over $15 billion in annual profits, and in February, BP reported its highest profit in 8 years. Maybe they could use some of that money to lower gas prices instead of stock buybacks or shooting glossy commercials full of healthy-looking sea turtles. Or at the very least, they could pay for some better programming on those damn gas station TV screens. I mean, what kind of low-rent TV show agrees to be shown on the outside of a gas pump? Good evening, I'm Seth Meyers. This is Late Night. We hope you're doing well tonight. And now we are going to get to the news. Damn it, I forgot. In my defense, I forgot we made that deal. Even worse, when we made it, they said, we can pay you in gas or Slim Jims, and I yelled, Slim Jims! I mean, I was thinking, if anything was due to have a price hike, you know, at some point they're gonna run out of gyms. So the GOP complaints about gas prices are obviously cynical, hollow politics, and by far the dumbest example came from Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert on Fox News last night when she tried to slam the Biden administration but seemed to lose her train of thought.
Here's Biden's energy policy. Anyone but America. OPEC, Venezuela, you name it. If it's not American energy, Joe doesn't want it. Jesse, under President Trump, America became a net energy exporter for the first time in decades and became the world's #1 producer in oil. President Trump unleashed our energy potential. So I say we should be relying on our guys to do the work, not OPEC. And I don't know who's running the federal government these days, Joe Biden or Prince John from Prince John.
Yeah, you know, Prince John from Prince John. In all seriousness, and I want to be charitable here because she's a member of Congress and an elected official, so even if we disagree, I want to engage with her in good faith. Here's my sincere and honest question. What the are you talking about? That was like when you're watching a movie with your mom and she says, hey, it's that guy from Goodfellas, and you say, yeah, we're watching Goodfellas. I mean, just try and figure out what she might be talking about. I Googled Prince John, and this was on the first page of results.
This crown gives me a feeling of power! Power! Forgive me a cruel chuckle. Power.
In fairness, he is a political figure, I guess. Prince John, you know, from Prince John. I'm sure in an alternate timeline, Lauren Boebert isn't in Congress. She's just writing hate mail to Disney to complain about how rarely they open the vault. Thanks to Joe Biden, Cruella can only afford 78 Dalmatians. This person should not be an elected official. From now on, instead of calling her Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, I'm just going to call her Lauren Boebert from Lauren Boebert. As we're seeing play out in real time now, autocracies and dictatorships depend on stifling the truth which is why Putin is so desperate to crack down on independent media and stay isolated even from his closest officials. We should be investing in clean, renewable energy sources so we don't have to buy oil from dictators anymore. You know, from Saudi Arabia or from Vladimir Putin or
from Prince John.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.